let me announce it as well. Okay. Okay. Let me check if everything is working. Okay, seems everything is working fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if we can start, if the audio and video quality is good on both of our end. Please let me know. Please let me know so we can start. I hope that my mic's volume is good enough. You can hear me well, right? So there is no
Yeah, I
echo
can
or
hear you well.
something. Okay.
No, no.
Perfect.
What about me? You can hear me well?
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. No, it's just sometimes on my mic is volume is not that loud enough, so that's why I asked it. Okay, perfect.
No, no, no.
Let
No,
us
that's
know,
just
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if we can start. Please let me know. I will also check on my end again, just to be sure that everything is working correctly. On my end again. Just to be sure that everything is working correctly. On my end again. Just to be sure that everything is working. The voice is good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it seems good to me. Okay, let me know if we can start. Let me know. You, Leo. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're done.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Whenever.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. I'm here today joined with Leo, who is the creator of the game called Camouflux, Levels and Bosses, and I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Hello everyone. My name is Leo Castañeda. I live in Miami, Florida, United States. Originally, I'm from Cali, Colombia, and I moved to the United States when I was 10 years old. And I'm a multimedia artist and video game designer. And for the past 15 years, I've been developing this game project that started as a painting and drawing series. Like I'm originally trained as a visual artist, so I started kind of combining elements from fine art and video game design into a series of paintings and drawings, and that eventually became this exploration that for the last 5 years approximately has
Your voice went out. You started to lag, and your
oh
voice. Sorry for interrupting you.
no, thank you. What was the last thing you heard? Can you hear me now?
You talked about the 15 years that you worked on the game, and you were telling us that you combined the art that you were working on with the video game knowledge of yours.
Oh yeah. So then in the last 5 years, it's started to come together more as a game with the intention of um, of being something that is released on Steam or PlayStation, etc. But also honoring that it emerged from the fine arts. So I do large scale paintings, as you can see in the background of the
I
game
love those.
characters as part of the thank you, as part of the content process and then I'm really also into like the installation aspect. So kind of doing exhibitions at art spaces and museums, but also bringing them into comic book and anime conferences, but having the same exhibition where you get immersed into the game world and the textures and everything's like very handmade. So yeah, that's kind of an introduction.
I see. Thank you for that. So my first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of yours?
Oh, Well, first would be when I was 4 years old. That
Okay.
I had a friend that had a Nintendo, the one that came with the Duck Hunt gun. But my first time being more immersed was when I was 8 years old.
I
That
see.
my grandpa got me a Sega Genesis, and I played Sonic the Hedgehog. That was the first
Nice.
game that I owned,
Nice,
followed
nice,
by
nice.
Prince of Persia,
Was he
and
a gamer too, by
then
the way?
also
Was he a gamer too? Was
my
your
grandpa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of insisting, like, I want a Sega Genesis.
Oh,
I
I
want a
see,
Sega
I see, I
Genesis.
see, I see, I see.
And then yeah, either him and my parents combined funds to get a used Sega Genesis in Colombia or something. Yeah, it was definitely something that um was a little bit more cost prohibitive in Colombia than it was like here as far as like the cost of a
I see,
game console. But
I see,
so yeah, I would always get the used games. But no, yeah, started with Sega Genesis, and then uh definitely Nintendo 64, and Zelda Ocarina of Time was the first time that I was like, wow, this is like a medium for making art. Uh, so that's closer to now when I was like 10 years old.
I see, I see.
Mhm,
And back
mhm.
then, did you know that you will be working on your own game or on own games as well? Or have you ever had
No, but
those dreams of yours in a very young age back then that you would
um,
like to
yeah,
work on
yeah.
games as well?
Uh, to a certain extent,
I see,
I definitely knew I wanted to be an artist.
I
That
see,
was my
I see.
primary desire, because I also grew up in an artist family in
Oh, I
Colombia.
see.
Like I grew up, like my parents are architects, but they used to draw a lot, and my grandmother, she's a painter, and I kind of grew up around this kind of artist family, and then. Um, yeah, I think I was very influenced by video games, but I wanted to be first an artist. And then when I was about to go into college, when I went once I moved to the United States, I went to an art high school called New World School of the Arts. And then they really taught me like the traditional techniques. So I learned how to do like figurative, realistic painting and different things like that. But in my sketchbook, I would do sci-fi, fan art,
Which you love more, right?
and yeah, yeah, yeah. And I would design my own
I see,
characters. So I was almost when I was applying to college, I almost went to a school that was for concept art
I see,
and in games and movies. It's called the Art Center College of Design, but I ended up going more to a school in New York that's called Cooper Union, that is more of a conceptual art school, because I thought that maybe like I already had the skills to kind of think of something and draw it,
I see,
and that maybe if someday I would make a game or game related art, that I would want to do, I would want to work for, would want to kind of design my own world.
I see,
Um, so yeah, it was a longer route than, like, maybe if I would have gone directly in the concept art route, like maybe I would have been employed by a game company and I wouldn't be doing this kind of like figuring things out from another industry perspective situation. But yeah, that's how it kind of uh, became.
I see, I see. And so
Mhm.
you were mentioning that 15 years, so it's a lot, right? But like you mentioned before, you already had this idea in you that you also probably would like to create your own words, especially if it could be done in a video game form as well. So,
Mhm.
what do you think? What could cause the fact that it really took you a lot of years to figure it out, or to take the very first step to really like mess
Mhm.
with video game industry and to step into video game route as well? What do you think? What could
Uh,
cause that
um,
effect in your life?
um, yeah, I mean, a few factors. At first, kind of intimidating because I didn't formally study it.
I see, I see, I
Um,
see, I see,
but also, uh, at first I thought it would be a series of artworks that would be
I
influenced
see, I
by
see, I
video
see, I see,
games.
I see.
That, like, for example, the like I started even doing costumes of the characters and thinking, oh, maybe it
Oh,
could
I
be
see,
an opera or something,
I
and
see.
and or like it was more like experience design. But
I
then
see.
I thought, okay, well, what's the difference between experience design and game design? I mean, there's a lot of layers of like engineering that it takes to nail the experience
I see.
design of like a full-fledged game. But um, yeah, I think for about of those 15 years, for about 4 years, I didn't, besides Photoshop and Adobe After Effects, I didn't really have digital techniques. I thought
I see.
it would be too hard. And then and then I just started going on YouTube, learning how to 3D model, and I was like, oh, this feels like drawing. And then Unreal Engine became free in 2013 or 2014, and I was like, well, I had used Unity for maybe 6 months, and I was like, okay, blueprints with Unreal. I don't have to learn how to code in a traditional way. Even though I still wish I could code in a traditional way, but with blueprints and Unreal, so like around 2014, 2013, that's when I was like, okay, well, if the art is about analyzing game structures at a deep level, and there's all these like concept art for these worlds, like might as well start doing something. So but since my skills were not and experience were not ready to make a game yet, it
I
was
see.
more art exhibition experiences like with VR or like game related
I see.
simulations. So I would do for example, like some of the first pieces that I did were like getting the VR headset from the Oculus development kits and encrusting them into sculptures of the characters from the game world, um, so that the people would get inside the sculptures and kind of become characters. Um, and what else? Like I did another one that was like a VR headset that you would hug, and there, it had a gamepad on the inside, so you would kind of like hug it like a baby that you would massage to like move through the game world. So there were more experiments
I see.
in kind of using game engines to do artistic experiments in interaction design. And then once I got enough experience to not be too intimidated to start thinking of like because the difference in difficulty between making an experience in Unreal Engine or Unity that's a art experience and a full-fledged game is like exponential in terms of,
I see.
like user interaction
Yeah, true, true, true.
capabilities and all these things. So once I started kind of feeling ready, I started yeah, just learning more, and I started applying to art grants.
I see.
So like in Miami, like they had art grants for projects. So it's not as much money as like a gaming grant, but it would be like, okay, I'm gonna do levels and bosses exhibition, and this is gonna have like a prototype of the video game. So I started applying to some grants, lots of rejections, and some came through. And then with that, I was able to uh, start building a small team on and off.
I see.
So I work with a programmer in Colombia that's a family friend on and off. His name is Jaime. And then my partner Lauren, she's a kind of a film producer, and sometimes when she has time, she also helps me. And some sound designers through friends of friends have helped me every once in a while, and so it's kind of this thing of that eventually I saw where my limitations were, and I
I
still have
see.
a lot of limitations, and but then through the industry that I knew, which was the fine art industry, I started applying to these grants that helped me start at a very indie level, working with other people.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Hmm.
So you mentioned rejections. So what helped you go through those times and not giving up, really making your game through those times?
Uh, well, I mean, I just apply to a lot of things, and then if I don't get it, then I just press archive on the email, and at the same time, I think the yeah, so it just doesn't show up in front of me, and at the same time, it's yeah, I think the desire to make art is the strongest
I
desire
see.
in my life of
I see.
anything.
I
So
see.
it's the kind of thing that I can be discouraged maybe for 2 days, and then I just could get a sketchbook and start drawing, and then it's like,
Love
okay,
that,
this
love
is
that.
fun.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, I just have to figure out, like, what I'm trying to figure out though is the balance between the pleasure aspects of it
I see.
and the very organized aspects.
I see.
So for example, like I'm really trying to figure out a schedule where I can paint at least once every week or once every 2 weeks, because or paint or draw, because they're things that I don't have to think as much, because that's the most training I have.
I see.
Because yeah, when it comes to like project management, marketing, interaction design, all those things, uh, I'm always learning as I make, and it's amazing. But like as a indie dev, as many people that you've talked to probably say, it's like it could be exhausting to do everything,
I see.
and like to always do so many things that you're not the best at. So I've been really trying to to schedule in a little bit of
Is it
drawing and
hard, by the way,
painting
to
just to
manage
be.
your time? Speaking of that topic, is it hard to manage your time?
Yes, very
Okay.
very hard. Um, I mean, I've grown in it, but it's definitely active growing. And my training as a fine artist is very like lone artist in the studio. But and this is also the training of, or maybe the experience that a lot of indie game devs have. But the schedule and distribution of a fine artist is very different than an indie game designer. It's
I
more
see.
like a set of exhibitions that build up. So like you have like group exhibitions and solo shows, and you start in small galleries, and you end up going to museums, and you end up going to like international
Until you complete the
biennials and
full
different things.
circle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, until you somehow do this revolutionary thing that only very few people can buy.
Yeah.
Which is what why I really like the way that video games are much more democratic in their distribution.
I see.
But because there's something that people can have a piece of art for $10 on Steam or something, and 10,000 people can have it, as opposed to
True. True. True.
in
True.
the fine art world, the distribution is more like, I mean, there's public spaces, but the ownership of art is tied to scarcity. It's tied to, again, like this thing that is revolutionary, or like talks about deep concepts, but then you can only buy it for ding 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 ding, uh
Yeah.
um yeah, so yeah, but at the
Why do
same
you think
time,
it's like that?
in
By the way, if you said so, why do you, what could cause this effect if you see
um
behind the
the
curtain? What do you think? Is it because
yeah
they think that maybe those people who can't afford it might not understand the meaning of those fine arts, or what could be the
um
causing
I
effect of this
yeah,
mentality?
there, there's many factors. I think it's actually going through a little bit of a shakeup.
Okay,
um but I think traditionally fine art mediums have been painting, photography, and actually photography can be reproduced, but let's say painting, sculpture, like there's thousands of years of painting and sculpture as the standard of objects that are fine art in the world. So and usually they're not reproducible. They're like one painting, one
true,
sculpture,
true, true, very true.
and there's only 100 years of reproducible art, or like maybe a little more with photography. I mean, the print press and printing, that's been around for longer, but I think when the art market started, has if the art market grew out of those thousands of years of scarcity, um, it's
Your
hard
voice
to.
went off again. Sorry for interrupting. Your voice went off
Oh,
again.
thank you.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
thank you for. Um, so, anyways, there's just this long history of that, and to the extent that, let's say, video art is distributed in a similar way. It's distributed as editions of video art. So let's say like you end up doing like this USB that's like the golden like USB,
Yeah, true, true,
and then
true, true.
there's a certificate of authenticity attached. And anyways, I feel like if it's a way to for artists to finance living as an artist, which is really hard, it's a it's good, but at the same time, I definitely think uh and again, there are initiatives to try to figure out how the fine arts can catch up to other industries and distribution. Uh, but I think it's definitely necessary, especially with the current global economy,
True, true,
for
true,
artists to not feel like they have to depend only on wealthy people that
true,
can afford their work. Because yeah, like games, yeah, you can have prints or you can have a digital image of your work, and then that can also be something where someone could support an artist.
true, true,
But
true.
it's cool that games have dominantly emerged as a medium where digital infinite distribution is the norm. Um,
True.
yeah, and even if right now it's super competitive with so many indie games out there, like it's still really cool that it's a innately global and accessible medium.
Very true, very true, very true.
Mhm,
So, what was the
mhm.
very first time when you like found your own style in art?
Um, the first time that I found house, hmm. Yeah, I guess it kind of went through an evolution,
Okay,
but maybe when I started the project 15 years ago,
okay,
because basically I had the realism training, then
I
I
see,
went to a school for conceptual art that where I learned a lot about like abstract art
I see,
and art history, and then I had like all my childhood full of Dragon Ball, Legend of Zelda drawings, Sonic the Hedgehog drawings,
nice, nice,
and then I
nice.
grew
Love
up, and then I
those.
also grew up, and then I also grew up around this. My family was really into Latin American abstraction and surrealism.
I see,
Uh, so then when I started the project like 15 years ago, it was a little bit of a reaction towards having to define what my work had to be about at the beginning. It was
I
more
see,
like getting a tarot deck of styles and just merging them together. So like what it would be like if like anime of let's say like Evangelion meets Latin American surrealism and pre-Columbian sculpture and the energy of Dragon Ball characters meeting with abstract beings and dark fantasy meets very calm environments. Like it was like a way to kind of put a lot of styles and a lot of influences in a
I see,
blender.
I see.
One of the main styles that I worked on, or like the first level of the video game, was highly influenced by Super Mario Clouds, like where you can
Okay,
walk on clouds, but also romantic landscape paintings, which I don't know if you've seen romantic landscape paintings from, especially like Germany, with Caspar David Friedrich, or in England, JMW Turner, that they have these epic storms and like these uh, this force of nature situation. So I did like a whole level kind of based off of um, the idea of what would it be like if you can walk on clouds, or
I
like
see,
liquid solids and gases would be interchangeable, or like where a landscape is alive. So like what a living landscape would be like.
I see,
So it was again mixing the idea of, okay, well in Super Mario you can walk on a cloud, but then in romantic landscape paintings you're on mountains that are above the clouds, and it also feels that way. And romantic landscape paintings were super influential, or have a lot of similarities with epic aesthetics
I see,
of film and even games. So like some of the games that were when I was, let's say it was 2009 2010 when I started coming up with a series, there were a lot of games that had this kind of like dark gritty aesthetic, and there was also like the aesthetic of particle effects, explosions, like gritty apocalyptic
yeah.
landscapes. Yeah, so
It's
like
somehow
get
appealing to a
combining.
lot of people nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So kind of combining like fine art references that had that,
I see.
where like what's the difference between an explosion and a beautiful sublime cloud or something, or what's the difference between like an abstract texture and also merging those things. So yeah. Anyways, a lot of merging.
I see. I see. And so, when
Hmm.
first you discovered your own style in art, was it something that connected with your vision and with your real life as well, like your message that you would like to give to the people who are consuming your art, who are watching your art come to life? So, was it something that
Um,
really connected for the first time when you realized, okay, that's my style?
yeah, yes and no. I
Okay,
think my intention when I first started was to have no limits of style.
I see.
Like basically, uh, especially in the fine art world, like let's say when I would was a child and I would draw anime characters in my sketchbook, it would be like, "Oh, you're drawing anime. That's not real art." So then okay, so my thought was, okay, how could I come up with an aesthetic where there's no limit of what is valid influence,
I
where like
see.
there's
I see.
and the other idea was that the school that I went to was very into having a meaning from the beginning, and I wanted to reject that. I wanted to come up with a series where I could combine everything together and then filter out what the essence was. So and it was a little bit of trusting that I would figure out what the essence would be. So yeah. So let's say if going back to that first level and like what maybe my instincts brought me to, like this like epic landscapes, living landscapes, combinations of sci-fi with geology. Um, then I started thinking, okay, well, okay, where does this come from? Like is it like subconscious? Is it just because it's cool? Like is it because I grew up watching Dragon Ball and then when the characters were charging up and blowing up the landscapes, it was really beautiful or something? But or like is it, being in a world where we have climate change and wars and all these situations and then like where you have the aesthetics of nature and the aesthetics of violence like are almost the same thing, like a, uh, like making a lot and then introspecting and
True.
then
True. True.
and
True.
then and then over the years through the filtering and then thinking, okay, well this character should be the player character or this should be this boss. Then I think that's where the kind of the meaning started coming out
I see. I see.
through really letting the work kind of exist and filter itself out, which is also like the way that a lot of stories I think emerge in the world is like, someone's like "Du-du-du-du-du," and then, oh, okay, that little sketch, it resonates with me,
True. True.
so
True.
then,
Very true.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So then, okay, what's the backstory of that little sketch? And then you do like a few other sketches or something. So,
So you realize
so
what it is, right?
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of letting like the mind and life experience kind of like trusting that an idea doesn't have to be good at first. It just has to be a start.
I
I
see.
think was kind of the idea here. And then yeah, I mean I could talk more about like where the concepts have become over time, but but yeah, that was the original intention.
I see. I see. So,
Hmm.
following up this topic that we have spoken about now, I believe that all of us creators who make our own craft, we tend to put our own experiences, memories, losses, love, and everything that we experience throughout our life into the craft we make. So, is it true for you as well, this statement of mine?
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay.
so so through that filtering process of figuring out, okay, like why and where the aesthetics and world building came from, I started thinking, okay, well, I grew up in Colombia on in the mountains in situations where you would drive up and then the mountains would turn into clouds and this like lush, like tropical, epic landscapes. Uh, Also, like a lot of the concepts of the work are like reimagining what antagonism and boss battles could be, like almost like in an Undertale way, but like
I see.
through almost like a tropical Dark Souls aesthetic. But yeah, like definitely grew up in Colombia, like in a time where you would be surrounded by all this beautiful nature, but also it was like a time of conflict, and you can't go outside on your own, and and
I see.
there's
So that's
a
where the
little.
darkness comes from in your game, right? I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah, I think, yeah, I think so. And then also growing up around these artists, um, that like we're making these surreal worlds and like abstract worlds, like,
I see.
and then my experience with immigrating also, like I realized definitely influenced me.
I see. I see.
Like for example, like the game character that I designed is very uh, in between states. Like you don't know if it's a cyborg, a alien, a
I
future
see. I
human.
see. I see. I see.
It's kind of like this in between character that can camouflage and is many things at the same time and nothing at the same time. And I realized too that there were a lot of connections with my experience as like a Latino immigrant, and like now when I go back to Colombia, I'm like a gringo, like a and that, but then it's like a feeling of like belonging to many places and no
I see.
places at all.
I see. And I
And I
can
think, and
relate
I
to that,
definitely.
by the way. I can relate to that, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, do you want to tell me more, or?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of my childhood in another country, not in Hungary. So and I got bullied by that by a lot of times. Yeah, so and
Really?
yeah. So it was a
Uh,
very bad experience to me in school when I was
Oh,
little. Yeah, yeah. Especially
oh, I'm
because
so
I love
sorry.
my childhood, and my grandfather passed away when I was 12, so I can totally relate to that. What you were
Oh, I'm
just
so
talking
sorry.
about.
But where did you grow up?
In Ukraine, in Ukraine. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. So it's close
Wow.
to
So
Hungary, and yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it
yeah,
was very bad experience because I knew the language and I know the language as well, and yeah, yeah. Especially
yeah,
now when
yes, yeah,
there's a war situation between Russia and the Ukraine, yeah. So it's like
yeah, yeah,
crazy, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. To have this like, yeah, that's very similar. Yeah, you had this
yeah,
beautiful experience in a place, and then it's like,
yeah.
yeah, having the experience of being bullied or not
Exactly,
accepted,
exactly,
even if
exactly.
you had this
So I
great
can
experience.
totally relate to that. Yeah. So it's like I don't
Yeah,
know. It's weird to live in this world actually. I always
yeah,
experience that. But so my
yeah.
question would be: do you think like making this form of art and also the game of yours, have you found yourself by that? Like, do you feel like now you are in a better place, as we can say so? Of course, we are living
Um,
in this world and with all this crazy stuff happening. But do you feel like thanks to your passion and
hmm,
what you do on everyday base and level, what you love to do, that you found
yeah.
yourself more? Your place in this world, we could
Um,
say.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's definitely like a never-ending discovery, but
Okay.
um, I yeah, I think if I have it, yeah, I definitely think it's a more powerful driving force than having traditional stability structures, which
I see.
sometimes kind of freaks out my partner. She gets a little bit scared when when I'm like, oh, I need to have I need to have a studio and work on games for the rest of my life or something. And then she's like, okay, I'll support, I'll support you, but it's scary. Yeah, but but yeah, I think yeah, I definitely am not yet at the position of being like a floating guru of like,
I
I've
see.
fully found myself.
And
Like
we
I
you
think
will probably never be, right? So that's the beauty in
yeah,
art, right? So it
yeah,
always
yeah,
goes with you and it always helps you keep that calm
yeah.
situation. That always, I believe that we creators always have to go deep down the rabbit hole as well to gain influence, right? Because if you did not have this influence in your life that you were talking about just now, then you might not be that person who found your own style, right? So I mean it's probably that like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, but before I forget it, so when I first started the series, I was actually on a foreign exchange trip uh,
I see.
in Barcelona, and one of my best friends there, she was from Hungary. Her name is Anna Ildiko Petu,
Oh, nice.
and there was a yeah, and then there she was like, oh, there's this Hungarian film playing at a film this art house cinema, and it was called Satan Tango by Bellatar,
Okay.
and and then I ended up becoming like super influenced by this Hungarian filmmaker Bellatar. I don't know if you've seen his films. They're
No, no, no. I
very
haven't. I
slow,
haven't. I haven't. But I will.
very
I will.
slow, very slow, black and white. Uh, like the film was the first one that I saw was 7.5 hours with a 1 hour intermission.
Okay.
So almost like 8 hours in the theater, and this like film was completely black and white, but 90s HD, like 8K black and white. And anyways, it was very interesting, like the way that through like a very moody, slow pace, like this Hungarian filmmaker was able to create this incredible world. Um, yeah, just putting it out there because I had it on a note that since you're from Hungary, just to just to mention that if you
Thank you
didn't
for
know it.
that. Thank you for that. I will for sure watch that movie. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
How about your parents and your close friends? Were they supporting you, and were they supportive about the decision that you are making your own game, switching, or not really switching, but combining art with making a video game? How do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, I think they've generally been supportive.
Okay,
I think they definitely in their lives had a harder time following their passion because
I
they
see.
both kind of grew up wanting to be artists, and and they kind of were able to, but it was when they were starting to sorry, want to do art in Colombia, like the education for art was not the best. So,
I
for
see.
example, my dad then went into architecture, which he likes. Uh, and my mom also went into architecture, and so yeah, I think they have their own choices. I can't say it's only because like the system didn't allow them to be artists, but they were definitely a yeah, supportive of my sister and I kind of following our dreams, but
I
to a
see.
certain extent, like it's not like they're like, oh, here's a check, follow your dreams. It's more like figure it out, follow your dreams.
I see. I
so
see. I
so
see. I
uh,
see.
so 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 they're still sometimes practical. Like I taught at a university for 7 years until this year.
I see.
So that they definitely encourage, like, it's hard to afford living as an artist, so you know maybe teach. And then I and then I was like, no, I don't want to. Okay, and then it was actually, it was very rewarding. I actually
But it's love, right? So
uh
they love you and they care you about your
yeah,
future.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
why, yeah,
yeah. So I taught at a university for a few years,
I see.
a few years full time, and then once I was able to kind of have enough savings and start getting the grants, then I started going part time with the
I see.
universities. And then this year, fortunately, like I was able to not teach this year. So it's my first year like being able to do like full time game dev. But but yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I feel supported.
I see.
Mm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and friends as well. Like I also feel overall supported. I think I don't have enough game dev friends because in Miami there's not a ton of them, but I
I
have
see.
friends that are in like media art, digital art, or so sometimes like artists that use game dev. Um, so yeah, I think for game dev within Miami, it's been a little bit harder to have like a mentor or like someone to fully talk to about that. But for that, there's YouTube and people online. And then I did meet recently. There's a professor of University of Miami named Lindsay Grace
Okay.
who has given talks at GDC and everything, and this art space. I'm part of a art complex in Miami called Bake House.
I see.
So with Lindsay Grace, like we were like talking recently because he has a lot of experience making game jams to like do like community game jams here
I
in
see.
Miami, so that like if there are in Florida or in Miami more people that do game dev in particular, that maybe they would come and gather and get to know each other because
I see.
maybe they're more isolated. But the digital art community and the art community in Miami is very connected, so I feel, supported by that.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. And how do you feel? How have you changed as a person in other territories of your life from starting making your own game? How do you feel about that?
How did I start changing as a person? I think it's the upward learning is the organizational
Okay.
uh, needs. I think game dev versus only being a fine artist is
I
like
see.
a exponential curve of project management and organization, and it's definitely something that has been like a big learning curve for me to have very long to-do lists and to communicate with people. Like when I stopped being a solo dev and started working more with someone else. I definitely don't feel like I'm fully there yet, but it's yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve because it's gone from like talking between my brain and my hand and intuition to okay, well, now I have this programming limitation. Like, how do I describe that? How do I communicate with a programmer? How do I communicate with if someone's helping me with marketing or something, and then or if I do it on my own, like how to communicate with different audiences, like that I think has been the biggest growth is having a lot of hats and having multiple audiences
I see.
and having and to a certain extent that also includes applying to grants because grants have different audiences too. Like if it's a organization that's interested in art and technology, then the project is talked about in one way. If it's only about an organization that has experience in painting, then it's in another way. If it's a game dev grant, which I think we just started applying to those, then it's totally different. So it's I think that's has been the biggest growth is kind of stepping back from being an artist and kind of being like a many hats person and then yeah and yeah for I feel very lucky because whenever she does have time, my partner, when she helps as a producer, is she's very talented in the organizational and project management way, so she helps me a little bit. I'm a little bit more like, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone but I have to. So yeah, I'm a little bit more introverted in that way,
The art speaks
yeah,
for
but
you, right? So it's understandable.
yeah, but but I've had to kind of learn how to speak a little bit more.
I see.
But yeah, I still feel like I'm not there yet, but on my way. I've grown.
You will be there, yeah, exactly. And I hope that you're having a fun time with us and with me, and
Hmm.
hope you're enjoying
Yeah,
our
of
time.
course.
So yeah,
Hmm.
so about the game, when are you planning to release it? It's I know it's an interesting question. So when we actually get to play your
Um,
game, do you know something about that?
so so in the indie scale, it's to be an episodic release
Yeah,
unless somehow we get like a lot of money from somewhere. Uh, but regardless, I think episodic would be the best because
I see.
I don't trust my ability to make like a full-fledged like 10-hour game or
I
something.
see. I see. I see.
So yeah, so the first chapter, which would be about like 2 to 3 hours long, should be able to be finished in about a little bit less than a year.
I see.
So maybe I think our goal is to have it done September of next year,
Okay.
to have enough play testing, and then basically from September to let's say February, March 2026, we're going to start traveling the game to different conferences, and doing a lot of the heavy duty marketing
I see.
so that then by March or February 2026,
I
we
see.
would launch it. But yeah, I think if it wasn't for the marketing challenge, I think it would be ready summer or fall of next year.
I see. I see.
Like that would give enough play testing and time to produce some of the new levels.
I
But
see.
yeah, definitely giving at least like 5 6 months of marketing and doing like final tweaks and play testing.
I see.
So yeah, I'd say February or March 2026 is the current goal for the first chapter, and then I think based on that experience, I think we'll know like how fast it is to produce another chapter. But the goal is for it to kind of, every like, let's say like 2 years have a chapter come out.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. And do you already know how many chapters would you like to include? Like, do you have already the script in your mind for the whole story as a whole, or it's something that develops throughout the years that you make your art and your
I
games?
have like a meta script that I've had for many years, but I think it's kind of adapted over time
I
based
see.
on difficulty of production.
I see.
So I have at least like 12 levels that I've designed the aesthetics and part of the world building
I
from,
see.
but uh realistically for this first chapter it's going to have about 3 or 4 levels,
I see.
and that will combine to like the 2 to 3 hour experience. um some of those 3 out of those 4 levels were not in the original plan that I had like 10 years ago of what the level progression would be. So
I see.
actually, yeah, I could pull it up over here. Like 10 years ago, I done like a friend of mine started this kind of indie publishing company. So this is from like 2011. So it's like the first level, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, so this is all like combining paintings and
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like a comic book. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so this level will definitely, this is the romantic landscape influence level. This one will definitely be in the game, but if you go to the last page, it kind of ends, and then you have the character looking at this big building.
I
That was
see.
going to be the second level, but now that will be the next chapter.
I see. I see. I see. I see.
Because the the ability that the character gets at the end of this first level is too advanced for me to produce uh, in this first chapter. So and there are other abilities like the ability to camouflage and the ability to kind of like channel circuits of environmental energy. Those things kind of grew over time, and those are more what we're focusing on now. So anyways, the second chapter is going to be more uh, there, where basically like the player touches the head of the boss, and the boss is like this god basically that can transform between liquid, solid, and gas, and that hand becomes injured and then becomes something that you can use. You can transform liquid, solid, and gas states through that hand. Then it almost is like games like Prototype or even Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or different games where you have almost like this kind of like a god hand situation.
Prototype was
Or even
also a very
Metro.
nice game. I loved the franchise, and I was so
Yeah,
sad that it was like a rare gem. Not a lot of
yeah,
players knew that game, but it was a very good game in my opinion.
yeah,
It
definitely.
was competing back in those years with the infamous franchise, if you remember that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I never got to play Infamous, but yeah, I like
yeah,
the kind of like the psychic powers
exactly.
and
Yeah, in the open world
yeah,
sphere. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like, anyway, so that still needs to be figured out more.
I
So
see.
that will not be included until the next section. But but yeah, and that's definitely the goal to. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be something that will. I think, yeah, let's say if it's every 2 years releasing a chapter, so maybe then that section will, both of those chapters would be like the first part, and then there will be another part. So maybe I would say, depending on production and budget, like probably 4 chapters total.
I
So
see. I see.
every 2 years, that would be 2026, 2028, 2030,
I
2032.
hope I will live until that, try to experience all the chapters, so we can talk again then. Yeah, about my
Yeah,
experience. Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Love
but
that.
we'll see. Again, but budget pending, because it's the kind of thing that, like, if it's mostly me doing it,
I
then
see.
there's a certain speed. If there's more money, then I could
Yeah, understandable. Yeah,
hire. Yeah. So mhm,
I see. I see. I see. I see. No,
yeah.
go for that. By the way, sorry
Uh,
if I interrupted you. I didn't want to. So, if you have something
I don't
to,
know. I
oh,
don't
okay.
know. I don't know. That's all. Hmm.
Was there, by the way, something that you had to cut out from the game development, even if it's part
I
like
mean,
art form, or even if like gameplay wise, or
uh,
scenes or any
yeah.
scenes that you had
I
to
mean,
cut out?
definitely what I just showed you was definitely cut out. Like I wanted
I
that
see.
to be the second
Yeah,
level,
but
but
you
then that,
mentioned like it's not completely cut out, but you
yeah.
will use it again.
Oh, 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 cut out? Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, like I have thousands of drawings of possible
That's a
characters
lot. That's a
and
lot.
yeah, yeah. So there's definitely things that have been cut out, and it's hard to know if there will be cut out in the future,
I see.
because it's depend like it's almost like uh things that can fuel the future chapters,
True, true, true.
but yeah, I think it's more like it's like the current chapters have been refined and filtered.
I
Yeah,
see.
so but I can't say that it's cut out for the future
I
chapters. Yeah.
see. I see. It makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So, as I saw, your game is only or will be only available for PC for Steam. But are you planning to have like a console version as well for your game? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely being optimized to be, you know, PS5, Xbox specs for PC.
Okay.
But as a non-game industry native, um, I've definitely learned that there's a financial cost to of porting. I think I need to learn more about it,
I
but
see.
I think the ideal intention would be for it to be on PlayStation and Xbox Series
I see.
X as well, or even Game Pass. Like I I I enjoy Xbox Game Pass a lot as a kind of experience. I don't know how financially viable it is for Microsoft to or if it's becoming, but I
I
think
don't
it's
think so.
cool
By the way,
to
I
yeah,
don't think so. No, no, no. It's not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I like the ability to pay $10 or $20 a month, and then from a consumer perspective, it makes a lot of sense, and I
True,
think it
true,
would
true, true, true,
make sense for an episodic experience.
true.
But yeah, Steam and Epic Game Store perhaps will be the primary platforms just because that's the most accessible at the moment. But not yeah, definitely not Nintendo Switch though, because I think Unreal Engine 5 is going to be too hard to optimize for a Nintendo Switch.
I see. I see. So you mentioned
Hmm.
that you are working in a team. Was it hard to find your team members? And by the way, do you believe in perfect synergy between team members, or is it something that develops out throughout the time that you are working together on something bigger?
Um, it was definitely hard to find a team.
Okay,
Yeah, I think at first, yeah, so first came the intention of applying to grants to finance the team.
I see.
Fortunately, I had already met my partner, so she was already kind of helping me a little bit with the production side. But at first, yeah, I think I didn't really have like a lot of people locally that I knew that were game
I
devs
see.
or that would be available. So
I see.
I went to a conference called Steam Dev Days, and I met someone from Epic, and they were like, "Oh, contact this person." And then there were a studio that was local that did what's it called? Outsourcing of so they would do programming
I see.
or different sections for big companies, and they're like, well, we cost about $10,000 a month per person. And I was like, okay, you know,
Okay,
it's
that's a
The
lot.
Simpsons. Yeah, yeah.
You opened
So,
up.
so I was like, okay, I can't afford that yet. And then went to GDC and went to E3, and then met some people, and they also recommended some places in Colombia that did similar things that
I see.
were more affordable, like, but they were more like full-fledged studios for hire.
I see.
Um, and it was great to get to know them, but I was definitely not ready or couldn't afford to just be like, okay, well, here's X amount of money per month, and it was almost like handing them a project. Like they would have experience working with, let's say, Nickelodeon
I
different
see.
clients
I see.
that weren't necessarily trying to iterate. Like they were more like make this for me. So that didn't really work. I had some meetings to maybe work with them, but it was too expensive and also not the right fit for me. And then randomly at an E3, I stayed at a hostel and met this Colombian game developer. So he was the first one that I worked with. So I offered him to stay with me in Miami for a week, and I would pay him a little bit, and I would give him a drawing in exchange for 5 days of programming. So he was the first person that helped me. Then after that, a former student had a friend that had just graduated from game dev school in Florida State University, and she was super cool. Her name was Gwen Loffman. So she worked with me at a reduced rate for what she would charge. But she was the first like person to work with me for maybe like 5 6 months, and then she got a job at Rockstar, which I was very
Okay.
proud of her to get her. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Okay.
yeah, so she's probably working on GTA 6 or something. Who knows? Um, uh, she can definitely not talk about it.
Okay.
um, and and then after that, yeah, I was back to solo for about a year, and then had a family friend that had just graduated Full Sail University, which is also a game dev school here.
I see.
His name is Jaime from Colombia, and so yeah, so we've been working together on and off for like 3 years. So he would be the primary collaborator and programmer. Um, and and yeah, and for sound design, it's been like more like yeah, friend of a friend, or like I have a cousin in Colombia
I
that's
see.
a really good artist and sound designer
Sorry.
and musician, and I was like, hey, you want to try doing game sounds? And he's like, yeah, and it was cool because we grew up playing Zelda and Super Smash Brothers together, so we have like a
Connection.
yeah, connection. But yeah, it's definitely been very friend of a friend
I see.
vibe, especially because yeah, it's not like there's a financial capability of offering people full-time competitive salaries at the moment of
I see.
being like, oh, here's $80,000 a year or something. Like that's definitely not, I can't compete with a AAA company for like a programmer at the moment. Um, so yeah, and then there's another programmer that I met in Switzerland. I did an exhibition at this museum called Heck. That was of international game artists or people working with game engines. And yeah, there was a also worked with named he goes by the Glad Scientist. He's like a digital artist now based
Okay.
in Barcelona. But yeah, that's a team basically.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So, my question would be: do you believe that, uh, like, when you transitioned from not just making your own art, but went into like making a game based on your own art, do you believe that, like, or do you had like a feeling that you're abandoning uh, your old like lifestyle and just the pure art, or how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like from your perspective now, those people who, for example, just understand the way of art and do not understand video games, they like weird about your decision? How do you feel about that?
Mhm. No, I think
Or do they,
it's
or were
been
they
fine because
understanding your decision that you are like switching
yeah,
to
yeah,
this
yeah,
form of art?
yeah. I think they've been understanding
Okay,
because even from the first pieces that were done 15 years ago, it was like, oh, these are merging concepts from
I see,
games
I
and
see,
art.
I see.
And then at that point, it wasn't very understood. Like it was like, why video games? Like that's not like why are you making art about video games? But I think nowadays it's definitely more accepted, even in the fine
I
art
see.
sphere. Like some of the artists that were in that exhibition that I was in Switzerland are very successful in the fine art world, like doing exhibitions at museums and different things. It's definitely something that is, I wouldn't say trendy, but it's definitely highly accepted in the fine art world right now because it's a medium of the future,
True,
and
true,
fine
very
art is
true.
very
And
tied
it's
to
also a form of
very
art,
tight.
right? So it's not just
Yeah,
like games now, but it's a form of art
yeah,
as well.
yeah. So it's definitely something that is more understood and accepted. I think it's more figuring out what like I, I think the challenge that I have right now is, do I want to be in both worlds, or do I want to be in just one, like, like you said, like abandoning, because I've worked very hard to be in the fine art world to a position where like it is the main thing that finances the game at the
True,
moment.
true,
So
true, true, true.
it's not something that I could be like, okay, well, now it's like all in on only the game world,
Yeah,
because
true, very
hopefully
true.
they
Very true, yeah.
like, the ideal would be, unless it's too overwhelming, is to have it be both. So it's the kind of thing where,
True.
uh, like, it would be so cool if, and this is one of the intentions of the release strategy, is partnering with an art institution. So let's say that
To show
there's
your game
a
like an art form, like in an art gallery. Do you
yeah,
think like that or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah. So sure, yeah, and I've been doing those for a few years, like the kind of like, yeah, shows with the concept art and the sculptures and everything. But to do, let's say, a preview launch of one of the chapters at a art space or museum,
I see.
then also have a booth at a gaming conference locally, so that people that are from the gaming industry can go to the museum, and people that are from the art industry could go to the gaming space, and then, yeah, and then they could also download it online. Like, I think that would be my ideal, if it's something where the yeah, the people from across the industries would get to know each other a little bit more, because there's so much, like you just said, like, games are art. So
True.
why would people in the fine art industry not want
Your voice went out. Sorry, sorry for interrupting you.
okay, thank you. Like, why would people in the art industry not want to experience all forms of art? And
True,
then
true, true.
on the reverse direction, I noticed this a lot with my students too, which were art students, but many of them were more gamers than fine artists. That people are intimidated by fine art, like they think it's pretentious sometimes, or that they think that they won't be accepted in a museum, like they don't.
Yeah, that's why I asked it.
So
Yeah, true, 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 very true.
yeah, so I think the goal of this work from that perspective is definitely to have a artistic situation that welcomes people that are not from the gaming space, and not only from the art space, and makes them feel like, there's so many similarities between fine
True,
art
true,
and
true,
gaming,
true,
and
true, very true, very
you know
true.
that, yeah, and they can influence each other, and look, there's even game artists, that work between the both worlds, and it's not something that has to be limited.
True. Or
um
separated. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And actually, some of the game artists that I've seen, like, could be very famous on the fine art world, but then they still want to, like, be like, okay, well, the exhibition is only in the art space, and and it's not promoted as a game outside. So I'm definitely, that's one of the goals for me, is like to try
Change
to
that.
not have it be like this. Yeah, and I'm not the only one. There's other artists too that are into that. But yeah, but it's also challenging in terms of like a management, and like all the hats of an indie experience, because it's something where I feel like, you know kind of like like the pace of the fine art world and the pace of the game dev are a little bit hard to keep up at 100% each. So I have to figure out like how to do like a percentage distribution of energy. Yeah, that's the
I
main
see.
challenge right now.
I see.
Hmm.
So I'm a person who is not usually is down to choose between things that I like. But if my question would be to you that what would you choose, art or making a game? What would you choose, or you would never choose between those two?
Yeah, I guess ideally never choose, but I would
Okay,
choose game.
I knew
If
it.
I
Okay,
if
I
I
knew it then. Okay, I knew
Yeah,
it.
yeah, because it's the kind of thing that like if the game requires doing art and my favorite part of doing art is doing it, not like not the industry,
I see. I see.
uh, then I think if I had to choose one, yeah, for sure, game, because yeah, the global quality,
Yeah, it's
the
connected with
interaction
what you have
design is art.
said at the very beginning of our interview that
Yeah.
if you do a game with a form of art, and it's also a form of art, just making a full game, not just the art segment of the game, then you will be able to speak your message to more and more people. But if you just do fine art, it's like separated, we should call universe, like you said before at the beginning of our interview, right? So only
Hmm.
those people will be able to like consume that fine piece of art that you have made or others made who are in that industry or who are connected to that industry somehow. So it's a very interesting topic, by the way, that you have mentioned. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Mm.
we talked about a lot of topics. Is there something that you would like to bring up that we haven't touched before I will go into some more questions and to the questions from my community and chat?
No, no. Let's continue, and
Okay,
I'll be thinking.
okay. Let me know. Let me know.
Mhm.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, nyugodtan kérdeztek. Let us know, let us know. Let us know if there is any question. Let's me. Oh, there is actually. Uh, 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 uh. Oh, it's not a question. Oh, okay. So Mini typed down that wow, in this game you will have to be ready for everything that's happening in the game since she saw the trailer. The protagonist's graphical design is very very what's the word for it in English, like very mind blowing, like
Oh,
for her,
thank you.
and the animations too. She thinks that your game can also like influence people in like more like for their mind to think about some things that there would be like a
Um,
message in your game, and also like okay, let me read it first. Oh, so she sees your game as from the trailer of it, like it's a story about like an imaginative world where like you are the evil person or could be the evil person who is like trying to
hmm.
fix everything and also like control everything, but
Mm.
might coming up as a hero in general or a general, and
Mm.
she
Oh wow,
sends her
that's very interesting.
congratulations to you that she
Oh
loves your game.
wow, wow, thank you. What's her name?
Mini
What?
Mini, like Minnie Mouse.
Thank you. Thank you, Minnie. Really appreciate those comments. It means a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Any question, by the way? Any question, Mini or anyone else? Bármilyen kérdés, vagy bármilyen comment? What was the hardest part, though, by the way, throughout the development journey of the game for all those years?
Mm.
It's a question for me until we wait for another question.
I think one of the things that yeah we're still working on is like the balance of interaction design, of
Okay.
the balance of abilities and how to have something that doesn't get overblown in scope. I think that's been really difficult. Because like the instinct is like, oh my god, I want to make my dream game and it has this and this and this and this. So so yeah, that filtering process um has been difficult. And I think then other things that I mentioned already, like project management, marketing, uh yeah, kind of segmenting schedules so
I
that
see.
one could be effective as like a small business
I see.
or
I see.
something. Yeah, or like yeah, like a startup. It's like basically like being like a small startup. Hmm.
True, true, true. What is your favorite art that you have made so far throughout your life, by the way? I know it's a hard question, but what is your very favorite
Mm.
part of fine arts?
Oh, like favorite part or favorite piece? Like what?
Favorite piece, yeah.
Ooh, well, the painting that I did for the first level, like the one that I wish I brought it home, but it's not here. I can't show it. But the one that is the background to this
Okay.
painting. I mean that one, and then the first designs of the character that I did, like when I did the comic books, so 2011. I think those are my favorite because they are the most influential.
I see.
Um, I actually, even before that, when I designed the first boss, it was designed after the 2001 Space Odyssey monolith, but it was also designed after a, mi- a mistake that happened in a print shop in Barcelona. So basically, I was starting to design like what would be the initial set of bosses and levels, and some there were many influenced by architecture, like the Sagrada Familia cathedral. Like the idea was like deconstructing a boss into something that wasn't like an evil thing, or it
I
was
see.
just an entity,
I see.
like an entity that would be intimidating. But that could be a god, or it could be like a archetype of a relational system, or a future self or
And you
something.
are not sure why you want to fight with that entity or entity, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So like the mythological Undertale vibes, but I
True,
didn't
true,
know of
true.
Undertale at the time. But yeah. So there was one that was like that, but then uh, I was designing different versions of what the bosses could be. Actually, the first boss I ever did was just a giant sandwich because I wanted to have fun.
Okay.
But then when I re-
I love
but then when I
that.
ret- but it looked like a sandwich, and it also looked like a mimic, one of those chests from
Chess, yeah,
games that,
from Dark
yeah,
Souls
like
and
the
Elden
living,
Ring, yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. But then when I returned to redesign the first boss, I was using this process called monoprinting, where
Okay.
basically you use printmaking techniques like ink and a
I
press,
see.
but you only print once. So that's where I was doing the bosses.
I see.
And I was using an acrylic plate, so a plastic plate to do each piece. That was this really fun like process, like very loose. So I had already done like maybe 10 bosses, and I was or 12 bosses, and I was okay. I want to redesign the first boss. And the day that I went to do that, someone had used an acrylic plate to print an etching, which is done with a metal plate. So they
Okay.
had left this rectangle printed on it, like a square, like a
I
rectangular
see.
square. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to adapt the new design of the first boss to the square. And then I already had the design of the first level, and the first level was this liquid, solid, and gas explosion, like sentient landscape. So I was okay. Well, in 2000, let's combine the 2001 Space Odyssey monolith as a head to fill in the square because I have to do the square, and then combine that with the kind of romantic landscape background, and um, that's where this boss came from.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
And then from this boss came all the characters basically,
Okay.
because the idea here was uh, where is it? Oh, where's the player character? Oh yeah. So like you have the player character as a initial binary opposition of like a body against the landscape, white
Okay.
against black, or like light against dark. But the idea was to then use that kind of rectangle head as a way to link binary opposition with being the same being to a certain extent,
I
like
see.
that this first or final boss, that's gonna end up being more like the final boss of the first chapter, but that you feel like it's like the opposite of you, but it's also
The same of you.
maybe could, yeah, the same of you. Like that was kind of the idea,
I see.
and then thinking of that process of like being like interconnected with nature, interconnected with technology, interconnected with your antagonist, I think has been like the most influential piece in the work, because then it kind of like catalyzed, like so many other designs.
I see.
Hmm.
I see. Thank you. Thank you
Hmm.
for that informative answer of yours. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, any question from the chat? Any question from the chat? Bármilyen más kérdés? Any question? Any question? Any question? What would be the ultimate message, by the way? We talked about what influenced your story or the game story that you put into your game. But what would be like the
Hmm.
ultimate message that you want to give to the players and the consumers of
Hmm.
course, the art segments of your game, in the art galleries, if you will
Um,
show the segments of your game? What would be the ultimate message that like you want to show, wants to
well,
have
the
for
game
the
has like
players?
a very ecological like interaction system. Like
Okay.
you're basically like gaining energy by calming areas of turbulence, and
Okay.
you're also kind of channeling environmental energy to kind of do almost like energy circuit puzzles, and you're also using camouflage, so like always like skin shifting. But in terms of message, it's like adapting to multiplicity and perpetual change is kind of like
I see.
the main core of it, of uh like adapting to being like a being that is always changing, and that has to adapt to, you know larger forces in the in the world, and that the larger forces in the world are very interconnected, and are also you to a certain extent. So like where the level one explosion became narratively, it's like it grew to be this nonlinear change agent in the world. I could send you a playthrough of the first prologue environment, but basically in that prologue environment you have the the beings that are called the camouflux, and they are very sustainable. They don't eat, but they consume the energy of turbulence to power themselves, so they calm down the landscape to get energy for themselves.
I
And
see.
they've kind of grown into this very sustainable society, but they have this incoming explosion change that is happening. So they kind of build a teleporter to kind of almost like entangle themselves with the explosion, so that they go and try to understand it, and then they come back, and it's like basically like their hub world is interconnected with this explosion
I
that's
see.
gonna either destroy them, or become their main source of energy. So yeah, it could be interpreted as like any of the big events that are
True.
happening
True.
in
True. Very true.
society.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's adaptation to change between the personal self and the species self, and a interconnection across all beings, where there's no necessarily like a hierarchy between animals and technology and plant life, but everything in the game, like you could become a plant, you could become a animal, you could become a robot, you could become the landscape, and everything kind of looks like each other. So it's like very interconnected
I
in that
see.
way.
I see. I see.
Hmm.
So this mentality of yours, that you from your own perspective and from your own experiences, that shaped you as a person, you would like to see and make a change, not just in the industry of art and also in video game industry, but as a whole, in our world. When it turns out to like, or came to life, this mentality of yours, or this idea of yours, that okay, it's not just me who is making art and founding my own style and making a game, but really like, okay, I want to make a change. Was it something that like you had this from a very young age of yours?
Um, yeah, it could be, and I think at the same time, I feel like it's maybe a drive for the project that
Okay,
at a minimum could just be like a drive for the narrative, but I
I see.
think I think it would be too much to give myself credit for making that change at the moment. I think it's just more like a yeah, like the core life purpose. But I think if the core life purpose could end up influencing this artwork and game that then makes it feel more meaningful, then it's great. But I think yeah, definitely not there yet at the position of being like I
But
made
you
a
can
change
be,
in the world.
right? So you can be, and
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think is your ultimate goal as well. Not just
yeah,
finding yourself, but to help others to really found
yeah,
themselves as well. Because the problem that you mentioned and your experience that you cannot fit in any word that you would like to, and you don't know where you belong to. It's I think it's true for a lot of people nowadays, right? So it's like a very global and common.
yeah, yeah,
Perspective in my opinion, and it should really be a topic that we talk about, not just in our
yeah,
everyday life, but in like forms of art or forms of gaming as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if yeah, if the game somehow becomes popular and it could be one of a few artworks in the world that, or maybe many artworks that encourage people to see across difference and be like, oh, okay, I'm just like the other, or like I can relate to people from any country, or I can relate to animals, I can relate to plants, I can relate to AI, and I can relate to landscape, and everything's part of a continuous
This big
evolution of
box we
sen
live in, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and there's no necessarily uh yeah, I think that would be great. But
True, true,
at the
true.
same time, yeah, I think it's I don't think I'm the only one doing this. Like I think it's more like like a zeitgeist situation.
I
Like
see.
there's
But you are doing it, so that's important, right? In my opinion, at least. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh
Because if you would not be doing it, then I don't know. There might not be that many people who are doing it. So it's important that you're having this goal of yours. I see. Okay.
thank you.
Who do you think will appreciate your work more? The people from who are just into like the group of arts making people, or those who are more into gaming? Who do you think like
Mm,
will understand more what is your goal with it, and if you will release
uh
the
I,
first
I,
chapter?
I think the hope, and I think it would be the gamers. But I think right now the challenge is
I
figuring
assume
out what
both,
the right
right?
yeah marketing would be, because I think gamers have a lot more competing for their attention at the
Okay.
moment. So I think maybe let's talk in a few months after I try some
Okay, let's do that.
more version more versions of how to communicate the game out there. But I did do a conference this summer. Like I got an art, or me and my team, we got an art grant to do a the idea was a museum quality exhibition at a gaming conference. So we did this there's a cosplay and comics and gaming conference called Florida SuperCon here in Miami. So we did a booth and it had like super immersive. We even had like like the merch, like what I'm wearing, like this is part of the design of the worlds and everything. And it was and even like the sculptural furniture and the game. And we did cosplay characters of the game characters, which was pretty cool to have like you know people walking around as the characters. And the reception was great, like the like from the gamers and people in the industry. It was probably the best reception of the work that I've ever seen, but it's that level of reception I haven't been able to like fully nail online yet. I think there's still like more experimentation and working with the algorithms and stuff, but the gamers were really into it. They were also very good at giving feedback on the interaction systems. They're like it was so cool to have people dressed up as, let's say, Demon Slayer, sitting on that gaming chair that I designed, and then being, giving like 20 minutes worth of feedback on the demo of, this is working, this is not working.
Nice.
um and I was actually kind of impressed that many of the gamers thought the art was still very unique, because even though the style has been in development for many years, I thought now that AI was coming out, and like AI is like really also about like merging of things, uh, like from a uniqueness and competitive perspective, I was feeling a little bit like, oh damn, like maybe now it's gonna be really easy to make,
To replicate.
games like, yeah, it's a game that combines so many things into like an in-between world, and and then people were really appreciating that it was, they were like, oh, I haven't seen a world that looks like that, or or I really appreciate that you hand painted every texture. I was like, okay, thank you. So that has been cool, but I think we would have to communicate it in a few months or like a year of more marketing and different experimentations, because I still don't fully know, like. And actually, I even posted like a random screen grab on TikTok or Threads, or a few days ago, and there was a gamer that was angry because that was. I mean, there were some gamers that were like, "Wow, I can't wait to explore that world. It's so intense and surreal." And then there are other gamers that were like, "What? Why do you have the same texture everywhere? I don't understand this weird world." And then at the same time, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. What is weird? What is, so anyways, it's going to be an interesting experience to put the work out there as like, yeah, without knowing who the audience could be.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of I talk this a lot in at my Dev Live episodes show. That's the problem with today's people is that it always was like that, but especially now with the use of internet, there are so many angry and cancel culture oriented people who, if they do not
Hmm.
understand something, they are always tend to like disagree and to cancel the person who is making any form of art or their own craft. And it's
Hmm.
what brings up a topic to talk about, and we also talked about this before, that I feel like both groups, Group A, who
Hmm.
is in art, and Group B, who is in games, they should not just be merged, like your style with all of those influences, but also like should be educated, right? That people
Hmm.
in the field of arts or fine arts should be like educated to see out of the box they are in, like you were talking about
Hmm.
it, and people in the video game industry should really understand and see behind the curtain. And that was my goal with this dev live show of mine, that people should really see the person itself who is making the game, because it's not just a click, like I always say, and the game is ready to
Hmm.
launch, and it's out. But it's a person who is making it with a message that he or she or the team wants to give out to the people, and really change the world. Like you said, there are plenty of developers who really want to make a change with their personal perspective or experiences. And I think it's important that what people do not understand it, or since people do not understand some of the visions or messages that they are getting from these games, they will like say, okay, this game sucks or this game is bad, although it might be that they do not understand or do not see behind the curtain, right? It's the same with art,
Hmm.
but of course in museum people won't say, if they paid, I don't know, $100 for the tickets for in to be in the museum, that okay, this painting sucks, right? So it's like a very
And
different
I mean,
level of people, right? So it's like, yeah, but
no, but they could, they could, and
they
also,
could,
yeah,
but it's not that often,
yeah,
right? So if anyone in the
yeah.
museum will say that, okay, this painting sucks and I don't like it, because it's like not the same level of, I wouldn't say intelligence, because it's like it's like other rules in the art industry and the art
Mm.
group, video game group of people, because they are like to say those things, because like you will be like in that group. But if you say anything bad game industry, then you will be like, okay, God, because all around the world. So it's like crazy, and you will have to
Yeah.
like to be. I wouldn't say on an equal level, in my opinion, but at
Yeah.
least to understand each rules on both floors, in my opinion.
Yeah. But actually, yeah, just to add a little bit, well, one thing, yeah, not that many music dollars to get
No,
into.
it was
If
just a
there's
joke,
any
of
view,
course. Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
no, but just
yeah,
related
it
to
was
go to a
just a joke. Yeah,
museum.
sorry for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But maybe 5 to 30 or $40 max. But yeah, but I will say like there could also be cancel culture and fine art as well, and there's subcultures in both gaming and fine art that don't fully understand each other,
True, true.
and that don't fully respect each other, and uh, yeah, so it's like there's different circles and circles and circles. Like for example, there's the illustrators, and then there's the conceptual artists, and then there's the like in digital art, there's the people that are doing more like the technical digital art, and there's some that are doing more conceptual digital art, and some that are more like getting asset packs from the Unreal Engine marketplace and just filming it, and then that's the work too, but then that's also part of the lineage of ready-made sculpture like
True, true, true.
Duchamp or Andy Warhol that took photos of other people and then turned them into art.
True.
So anyways, there's a lot of acceptance across, but it also like there's also a lot of like, okay, people delineating, okay, what, that's not art, that's not a game,
Yeah,
that's
and that's what I wanted to
what.
say is that who we are
Yeah,
to judge anyone's work, right? Then if we do
yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
understand it and if we do not get the message out of it, then I'm not sure that I don't think that we do not have the right to criticize it. I always say this that it's rather to be or to act like a person who is reviewing or analyzing these type of craft that people are making, even if it's art or video games or I don't know, just a movie or a book, rather than like really criticizing it. Because like if we are analyzing it, it's similar than we did to poems in schools, right? That we analyze and we try to understand the message behind it, and that's how we could
Mm-hmm.
connect with the person who wrote those poems, the author of the poems or the books. And I always loved this perspective of reviewing poems, since we did not give scores to poems and books, right, in school, but we are giving
Mm-hmm.
scores to video games. So it's like stupid, right? If we would go down
Mm-hmm.
to the museum and I don't know, we say that I don't know, this is 1 out of 10 and that is 10 out of 10, it would be stupid, right? Like why?
Yeah,
Like doesn't make any sense, right? But why we are reviewing games with scores? So it's also stupid to me.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah. To a certain extent, then like even though there's no like numbers, at least the Steam system of very positive or positive,
yeah,
like I feel like that allows people to give their perspective. Like, okay, I'm saying positive because of this, and then they don't
true,
have to say
exactly.
like 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
it's more, yeah, like they can kind of voice what makes something positive or negative from their own
Yeah,
perspective.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm,
Yeah, very true, very true.
mhm.
Okay, we talked about a lot of topics here. Is there anything that we haven't touched and you would like to talk about? That's
Uh,
something that came to your mind and
no, I think, yeah, I think we're good. Mhm.
okay, okay. Okay, so like I said,
Uh,
I will need some more of your minutes, but for those who are watching us live or will be watching our edited version and VOD version on Twitch and YouTube, thanks for joining us. And thank you, by the way, for the comment from Minnie. And you will be able to ask questions if you missed asking questions on my Discord. And yeah, thank you, Leo, that you joined us for today's episode. And yeah, don't forget to wishlist the game, and when there will be a demo out there, also try it out. And yeah, thank you everyone who joined us for today's episode.
uh,
Have a great day.